Hey guys, alright, today we are talking about percents. Your objective today, you will calculate the percent of a number. Make sure you write down everything that I write down and anything that you need to fill in the blank on your notes. So, a percent, that is a ratio comparing a number to 100. And then any number over 100 is called a percent. Now, whenever you're calculating the percent of a number, it is useful to know how to change a percent to a decimal and how to change a decimal to a percent. So, if you are changing a percent to a decimal, you're going to take that decimal point and you're going to move it left. So here is what I mean by that. So we have 64%. If we don't see a decimal, remember it's like the period at the end of the sentence. It's understood to be right here. Now we have to move the decimal to the left 2 places. So we're going to hop left 1, 2 places. So that means 64% is 0.64. Now, if we wanted to change a decimal to a percent, we're just going to do the opposite, and we are going to move right. And again, it's still going to be 2 places to the right. So we have this decimal here, 0.373. So I'm going to take that decimal, I'm just going to hop to the right 2 places. So 0.373 would be 37.3%. Now, a little trick to help you remember which way to move the decimal. Alright, so if you're going from percent to decimal, think of it like paddle to the left. Percent, decimal, to the left. If you're going from a decimal to a percent, you want to dip to the right. Decimal to a percent, move right. So you paddle to the left, dip to the right, and yes, I will make you all stand up and do that. Okay, let's actually find the percent of a number. The steps that you need to take, if you see a number with a percent, you want to change it to a decimal. Anytime you see the word what, you're going to put a variable underneath it. In this, we're going to use the letter N, but again, you can always use whatever variable you would like. If we see the word of, that means we have to multiply. If you see the word is, we're going to put an equal sign, and then we're going to solve. That sounds really weird right now, but I think you're going to find it pretty easy. So let's look at example 1 together. We have what percent of 29 is 3? Alright, here's the word what. As we see here, what is the variable? So I'm going to put the letter N right here. What percent of, here's the word of. That means we multiply, so I'm going to put a multiplication symbol. And then I have the number 29, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that down. Now I have the word is. Is means equals, and then 3. So all I have to do is just copy down what goes with what word and bring the numbers down, and I have literally just created an equation. So I have N times 29 equals 3. And if you remember from our one-step equations, whenever you have a letter times a number, we can just write it this way. So 29n equals 3. Now remember, the variable wants to be alone, so the inverse of multiplying by 29 would be to divide by 29. Oops, so we have to do 3 divided by 29. Let's go ahead and work that out. Alright, 29 cannot go into 3, so I have to add a decimal and a 0. Decimal goes up. 29 can go into 30 one time. I get a remainder of 1, so I'm going to add on a 0. 29 cannot go into 10, so I have to put a 0. 29 can go into 100 3 times, and 29 times 3 is 87, with a remainder of 13. I am just going to stop there. Alright, so we got 0.103. Remember, a decimal to a percent, dip to the right. So I want to move this decimal 2 places to the right. So this would be 10.3%. 28%. All right, example 2. 28% of 63 is what? All right, I have a percent, so I want to change it to a decimal. Percent decimal left, paddle to the left. So that would be 0.28. Of means multiply. 63 is, that's an equal sign. And what is a letter. So this is saying 0.28 times 63 equals something. Well, that's pretty simple. All we have to do is multiply those together. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have 0.28 times 63. So 8 times 3 is 24. Carry my 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. 0 times 3 is 0. I'm going to put my 0 here. 8 times 6 is 48. I carry my 4. 2 times 6 is 12. Plus 4 is 16. And then 0 times 6 is 0. Now I have 4, 16. Alright, now I have 2 decimal places here. I have none here, so I have to have 2 in my answer. So my decimal hops over 2 places. And I get 17.64. So that means 17.64 is 28% of 63. All right, example 3. 1 is what percent of 5? So I have 1 is means equals. What is a variable. And then of means we're going to multiply. And we have 5. So 1 equals something times 5. And if I rewrite this, 1 equals 5 times the letter n. We can just write it 5n. N wants to be alone. It wants to be isolated. So if it's being multiplied by 5, we have to divide by 5. That is the inverse operation. 1 divided by 5, let's work that out over here. 5 cannot go into 1, so I have to add a decimal and a 0. Decimal goes up. 5 can go into 10 2 times. And that comes out evenly. So that means 0.2 equals our variable. But keep in mind it wants to know the percent. So I need to take 0.2 and I need to change that to a percent. So if I'm going from a decimal to a percent, that means I'm going to dip to the right. So I want to move my decimal 2 places to the right. This empty space just means I need to put a 0. So that equals 20%. All right, example 4. 15 is 20% of what number? So I'm going to write my 15. Is means equals 20%. Remember, if we have a percent, we want to change it to a decimal. A percent to a decimal, paddle to the left. So I'm going to move that decimal over 2 places. And I get 0.2, which you could actually see here is the same thing. Of means multiply. What is our variable? So 15 equals 0.2 times the letter n. So 15 equals 0.2n. N wants to be isolated. If it's being multiplied times 0.2, we have to divide by 0.2. Let's go ahead and work that out. Remember, top dog in the house. If we're dividing by a decimal, I have to take this decimal, move it to the side. I have to do the same thing inside the box. If I moved it once to the right outside, I have to move it once to the right inside. I'm going to pop that up in its new place and put a 0 here. 2 goes into 15 7 times. I get a remainder of 1. And then 2 goes into 10 5 times. And then that comes out evenly, so I'm left with 75. So 15 is 20% of 75. All right, now it's time for you to try. I want you to do examples 5 and 6 on your own. All the steps are listed right here. Remember, just take everything you see and just write what it means below it, and then you just solve from there.